This is one of Cluny the Scourge's online Rome Total War battles in the Barbarian Invasion expansion pack. I am playing as my illustrious and brutal forefathers, the Saxons. And I've constructed a rush army based upon the power of the shield wall. I've taken 6 units of Saxon hearth troops with the gold weapon upgrade, all deployed with no real gaps between them and in thickly ranked fighting blocks. I've massed my 6 units of noble cavalry, mounted nobles, over on the right. I've placed 2 units of Saxon keels, that's spearmen, also in shield wall formation on my left with the intention of defending against the cavalry strike there. And they are backed up by 4 units of chosen axemen who I intend to use to wheel around the enemy flank. Now my opponent, Celephator, is commanding the Eastern Roman Empire, and he has taken 6 units of comitatenses, which he's deployed in line formation, 1 first cohort comitatense to supply morale boosting a legionary standard effect, 4 Eastern archers, which he's deployed in front of his infantry, 4 Scolai Palatini heavy cavalry, and 2 Clibinarii cataphracts, that's mace equipped cataphracts. In other words, we have equal numbers of cavalry, but he is markedly superior in quality. However, in his opening deployment, he has separated them 3 to each wing, while mine are massed. So, my plan was to ram that short but powerful fighting line of shield walls right into the heart of the enemy battle line, occupy them there for as long as possible, and use my massed cavalry to deliver a knockout blow to his cavalry before he was able to properly reinforce them. So I send my shield walls racing ahead, and in that formation they receive considerable protection from missile fire, except for the rightmost one as I close with the enemy. When you fire missile troops from the left to the right, it bypasses your target's shields. They begin to take quite a few casualties, that rightmost unit, as you can see there. Taking the initiative aggressively like this also means that your opponent is denied time to think. Now, I've let my chosen axemen lag behind a little too far, so I stop my main battle line just outside of enemy javelin range for a while to let them catch up, then I close. Now that fighting line is so short and thick that it will be quite easily enveloped. However, hearth troops in shield wall formation are pretty resilient and tough. As you can see, that rightmost unit that was taking all the casualties from those flame arrows has already routed. However, I'm hoping the others will fix the enemy in place here long enough for me to achieve a decisive success with my cavalry on the other wing and then rush to assist them. Here you see the late era Roman legionaries, the comitatenses, enveloping my hearth troops in their shield walls, while his Clibinarii cataphracts are dealing death to my chosen axemen, who I'm using against them because I thought that their armor penetrating capability would be useful in fighting against units whose power is based upon their very high armor level. My opponent has reacted to my movements with my cavalry by rushing his other 2 cavalry units, the Scolai Palatini heavy cavalry that were on the left, his right, over to join the separated 3 units on his left, my right. Now let's travel back in time, about 2 minutes, and see what I did with my cavalry. As you can see, there are his 3 units, which I'm going to try to envelop and overwhelm as quickly as possible with my 6 mounted nobles. Striking in 2 places at once like this also has the effect of distracting the attention of the opposing general, making it difficult for them to coordinate their response as effectively as they might. And here you see I send 2 of those mounted units veering all way out to the right in order to better achieve envelopments. The enemy cavalry's morale is no doubt affected by the concerned by number of enemy effect that is created whenever you have very high localized numerical superiority against another unit. And in a coup for me, 2 of his Scolai Palatini heavy cavalry are destroyed at once. Now here you see that he's rushing in the other cavalry from the other wing, and some infantry as well. Now the infantry worries me. If my cavalry get bogged down in a melee engagement while infantry join it and are supporting the cavalry, I can't expect them to endure. The key to using cavalry is, after all, mobility and the strength of charges. So, at this point I take a gamble and decide to completely ignore the cavalry behind me and the infantry who tried to engage me, and race all of those cavalry out of reach of that melee and rush them to join the infantry scrum over on the left, striking at the rear of the engaged comitatenses with the idea of freeing up my infantry and so ensuring that I would be able to finish off those separated units back on the right. My opponent brings his last cataphract Clibanarii unit in to join it. I have regrouped half troops, Saxon keels and chosen axemen, who my opponent was unable to chase down and destroy after he'd routed, who come back into the scrum and they complete the process of enveloping and routing the enemy. A process made easier by the absence of these infantry, who my opponent had peeled off to try to support the cavalry engagement at the beginning. They're rushing back, but it's too late. And that was the key to this battle. By achieving localized superiority by massing my cavalry against divided forces, I provoked my opponent into drip-feeding reinforcements, creating even further division, which I could then take advantage of and exploit by transferring back to the other wing more quickly than he could. As you can see, that's his general that's just been cut down in the center of that massive tangle of men, and this battle is now effectively over. So what could my opponent have done? Ideally, he would not have separated his cavalry in the opening deployment in the first place. On the left, I would have had to face the threat of his massed cavalry with my own, and on the right it would have begun by facing my cavalry. Barbarism prevails.